The night was heavy with smoke and whispers. The black market stood alive under flickering lamps, shadows stretching across broken walls and narrow alleys. Traders shouted, their voices rough like stones. Customers bargained, their laughter sharp and cruel. In this place nothing was sacred. Everything could be sold, from spices and tools to lives bound in chains. At the center of the square stood a crude wooden stage. On it, cages lined in rows. Inside them, creatures from different worlds crouched, their eyes dull, their bodies weak. The smell of sweat, fear, and burning oil filled the air. It was the smell of hopelessness. The crowd gathered tighter when the next prize was brought forward. She was young, no more than 18 in human years. Her skin glowed with a faint shimmer of silver light, like the surface of water under the moon. Her hair fell long, pale as snow, tangled from neglect. Her eyes, bright violet, refused to rise from the dirt. She had been pushed, weighed, and displayed. Her thin dress clung to her frame, torn from handling. The trader grinned wide, his teeth yellow and broken. "Look here," he shouted. "Not just beauty, but rare stock, perfect health, strong bones, soft skin. Look at her shine under the lamps, a jewel for your keeping." The crowd leaned forward, eyes greedy. Some laughed, some whispered about the things they could make her do. Others only calculated profit. Her value was not her heart, not her mind, but her weight. A rusted scale was dragged forward. The trader forced her onto it. Her bare feet stepped on cold iron. The numbers rattled on the dial as if mocking her. 72 kilos, the trader announced. "She is worth her weight in gold. She will be sold by the kilo, price starting at." The rest was lost under the roar of offers. Coins clinked, hands waved. Voices shouted prices as if fighting over a bag of grain. The girl trembled, clutching the thin fabric at her chest. Her shoulders curled in shame. But deep inside, her heart whispered to itself, "I am more than this. I am not weight. I am not property." Among the crowd, one figure stood apart, a man, taller than most, his face half hidden by the hood of his coat. His eyes watched quietly, not with hunger or profit, but with something the market had long forgotten: humanity. He saw the girl not as a number on a scale, not as a body to be used, but as someone trapped, someone waiting for a hand to reach out. The traders laughed louder, raising the price. The man did not move. His silence unsettled them. Some noticed his gaze and whispered, "A human? What's he doing here? He doesn't belong." The girl's eyes, for the first time, lifted from the ground. Just for a moment, they met his. A spark, fragile but real, passed between them. It was not hope yet, but the memory of what hope once felt like. The man did not look away. He held her gaze, steady and calm. The trader slammed his fist on the scale. "Don't just stare, human. If you want her, speak your price." His voice dripped with mockery. The crowd laughed again. But there was an edge. They wanted to see what this outsider would do. The human finally spoke. His voice was low, carrying not anger but weight. "You are wrong," he said. "Her worth cannot be measured by a scale. She is not property." The market fell silent for a breath, then erupted in laughter, cruel and sharp. "Not property," the trader sneered. "Then what is she, a queen? A goddess? Here, we sell reality, human, not dreams." The girl's heart pounded. No one had spoken for her before. No one had dared to challenge the market. She gripped the edge of the scale tighter, afraid to hope, afraid to believe. The man stepped closer, his coat brushed against the crowd. Some stepped back, others jeered. The lamps flickered, casting long shadows over his face. He stood calm, but his presence carried something dangerous, something unshakable. The trader licked his lips. "So, human, what will you do? Talk is cheap. If you want her, pay the weight, or leave before you lose more than your words." The man did not answer, not yet. He kept his eyes on the girl. She felt as if the chains on her wrists had grown lighter. The silence stretched, and in it, the whole market seemed to lean forward, waiting. And in that moment, the first crack appeared in the wall of cruelty. It was small, fragile, but it was there. The girl's soul whispered again, this time stronger, "Maybe I am not alone." The market waited. The traders smirked. The humans stood still. But the story had already begun. The crowd still roared with laughter. Their voices filled the air like a storm, sharp and cruel. The trader raised his hand, ready to start the next bid, but his eyes kept sliding back to the human. The man stood in the shadows near the edge of the market, still and calm. His coat was dark, long enough to brush the dust on the ground. His hood covered most of his face, yet his presence carried weight. He was different. Unlike the others, he did not push or shout. He did not bargain or mock. He simply watched, and in his silence, there was strength. It made the traders uneasy. It made the crowd restless. The alien girl, still standing on the rusted scale, dared to glance again. Her heart beat harder. For the first time since her capture, she saw eyes that did not devour her, eyes that did not measure her body like merchandise. His gaze was steady, not burning with desire, not calculating with greed, but clear, sharp, and almost kind. The trader slammed the scale again. 72 kilos of fine stock, he shouted. Rare bloodline, strong body, untouched. Who will pay the weight? Coins clinked as hands shot up. Bidders screamed their offers. The numbers rose like fire, but the man in the coat said nothing. A merchant near him sneered. Human, you stare like you want her. Do you even have the credits to pay? Or are you here to beg? Laughter followed. But the human did not answer. He stepped forward instead, slow, steady, deliberate. Each step echoed against the stone floor, and the crowd fell quieter. The trader frowned. Careful, stranger. This is no place for a game. If you waste my time, you will regret it. The man lifted his hood. The lamplight touched his face, sharp features carved by years of hardship, eyes dark and alive with fire. The girl gasped softly. He was human, fully human, from Earth, a rarity in these parts. And unlike the others, he carried no chains, no collars, no marks of cruelty. His voice carried through the air, calm but heavy. She is not weight. She is not property. Stop calling her that. The words struck like stones against glass. The market went silent, then burst into a roar of laughter. Some jeered, others spat, a few cursed. Not property. The trader repeated, mocking. Then what is she? Tell me. Human. What is a slave if not property? The man did not flinch. He stepped closer to the stage. His coat brushed against greedy hands reaching for him, but none dared touch. His eyes stayed on the girl. She is life, he said, and life cannot be sold by weight. The girl's knees weakened. She almost fell. Her chains rattled. Her breath caught. No one had ever spoken such words for her, not even in secret whispers. She clung to them as if they were air. The trader's face twisted. Life, he spat. Here life is cheap. Here life has price. If you believe otherwise, pay it. Human, prove it. Put your money where your mouth is. The crowd howled in agreement, waving coins and shouting curses. They wanted a show. They wanted blood. The human reached into his coat. For a heartbeat, the crowd tensed, expecting a weapon. Instead, he pulled out a pouch. Worn and patched, he poured it onto the trader's table. Silver coins spilled across the wood, catching the lamplight. Not many, but enough to hush the crowd. The trader narrowed his eyes. This is not enough. Not for her weight. Not for her rarity, he sneered. Do you think pity buys souls here? Do you think your little coins mean anything? The human did not argue. He placed a second pouch. Heavier. His hand did not tremble. His voice stayed calm. I will not bargain for her like meat. I will pay what I have. I will give all I own, because she is not property. She is a soul, and her soul is not yours to sell. The crowd gasped. For the first time, laughter stopped. The trader blinked, caught between greed and disbelief. No one had ever spoken this way. No one had ever offered not for profit, but for dignity. The girl's heart thundered. Her violet eyes filled with something dangerous. Hope. She whispered under her breath, though no one could hear. Please, let it be true. Please, let him mean it. The trader leaned forward, his face twisted with greed. All you own. Human, are you ready to lose it all? For her, for a slave you don't even know. The man's eyes did not waver. Yes, he said, simple, firm, unshakable. The crowd erupted in chaos. Some screamed for blood, some for sale, some for punishment. The market boiled like a storm, but in the center of it stood the human and the girl, his calm against their rage, her hope against their chains. And in that moment, Something shifted. The story of the market was no longer theirs. It was his and hers, and it had only just begun. The coins lay scattered across the trader's table, silver and copper flashing under the trembling lamps. The crowd pressed closer, hungry for drama. Their whispers rose like the hiss of snakes. Some mocked, some doubted, but many wanted to see how far the human would go. The trader leaned forward, his grin sharp and cruel. "All you own, you say," he spat. "For her, a girl weighed like cattle, a girl with no name. You are either mad or desperate." He shoved the coins with his hand, letting them fall back into the pouch. "This is not enough. Human, not for her weight, not for her rarity, not for the pleasure she can bring." The human stood calm, his shoulders squared, his coat brushed against his boots as the dust swirled. His voice carried steady. "You speak of weight. I speak of worth. You see numbers. I see a soul. A soul is not measured in kilos. A soul is not sold." The crowd howled. Some shouted insults. Others laughed. A few fell silent, unease crawling into their hearts. The alien girl on the scale trembled. Her chains clinked as her knees weakened, but her eyes stayed on him, holding on to his words like fragile rope in a storm. The trader's face darkened. "Words are cheap, stranger. This is a market, not a temple. Here, we deal in flesh. Here, we count by weight. If you want her, you will pay as the law of this place demands, or you will leave empty." He slammed his hand on the table. "Name your price, or get out." The human's hand moved slowly to his belt. He pulled free a small leather satchel, worn and faded. He set it down on the table. Its contents clinked. Inside were not just coins, but trinkets from far worlds, shards of crystals, a carved pendant, even a ring. They were pieces of his life, fragments of his journey, all he had. He spread them out before the trader. "This is everything," he said. "Every coin, every treasure, every memory I carry. It is not enough for you, perhaps, but it is all I have, and for her soul, it is yours." The market froze. Silence fell heavy. The crowd stared, breathless. Some scoffed, but others felt the weight of his words. The trader laughed harshly. "A fool, a wandering fool, throwing away his life for a girl he has never touched, for a girl whose name he does not even know. You shame yourself. Human." He turned to the crowd. "What do you say? Shall I take his trinkets and call him mad? Or shall we show him what happens when strangers mock our law?" The crowd roared again. Some demanded blood. Others demanded sale. The lamps shook with the sound. But the human raised his voice, not with anger, but with command. "Enough," he said, and the market hushed. His eyes burned as he turned back to the trader. "You asked what she is if not property. She is life, and life has no price. But if you demand one, then here it is. All that I am, all that I have, I give for her." The girl gasped. Her violet eyes widened. A tear slipped down her cheek. For so long she had been nothing but weight and value. And now someone had offered not to buy her body, but to free her soul. She whispered under her breath, "Why? Why for me?" The trader snarled, his greed and fury clashing. "You insult this market. You insult me. But very well, human. If you give all you have, she is yours. But remember, a market does not forget. You may buy her chains, but you cannot buy our silence. There will be a price later." The human did not flinch. He stepped forward, his coat brushing the stage. He reached into his pouch one last time and dropped a final coin on the table. It rang sharp against the wood. The sound echoed like a bell in the night. The trader snapped his fingers. The chains were released. The girl stumbled, her knees nearly giving way. The human caught her before she could fall, wrapping his coat around her trembling shoulders. The crowd erupted. Some screamed, some cursed, some whispered. The human ignored them all, his voice lowered, speaking only to her. "You are free now. No one will weigh you again. No one will call you property." Her breath shook. Her hands clutched the coat tighter. Her heart beat with something she had not felt in years. Hope. The trader sneered as he counted the coins. "Take her, human, but you have bought more than a girl. You have bought the wrath of the market." The human did not answer. He only held her closer, his silence louder than any threat. And in that moment, as they stepped down from the stage, the story of the black market began to change, not with a weapon, not with blood, but with one human's choice, the choice to see a soul where others saw weight. And that choice would not be forgotten. The iron chains clattered to the ground. For the first time in years, the girl's wrists were free. The marks left behind were deep and red. Her arms trembled as she lifted them, not knowing if she should believe this moment was real. The human wrapped his coat tighter around her shoulders, shielding her from the cold and from the stares of the crowd. The marketplace stirred with unrest. Whispers cut through the smoke-filled air. Some voices mocked, some cursed, but others watched in silence, unable to turn away. The image of a human standing in the center, holding a freed alien girl, was something they had never seen. The trader counted the coins again, greed in his eyes. But even as his fingers clutched the silver, his gaze burned with hatred. He spat on the ground. "Take her, stranger. But remember this night. No one walks away from this market clean. No one steals from us without cost." The human met his glare without fear. His eyes were calm, steady as stone. "I did not steal," he said. "I gave all I had. That is more than you will ever understand." The girl stumbled as she tried to walk, her legs weak from long days in chains. The human caught her gently, lifting her when she faltered. His strength was not in muscle alone, but in his refusal to let her fall. She clung to his coat, eyes wide, heart racing. For the first time, she felt a shield around her. But the crowd did not part so easily. Men stepped forward, their hands heavy with weapons. They were not ready to let such a rare prize go. "She's worth more than what he paid," one hissed. "We could take her back. No one will stop us," another smirked. "And take his life too. A human's corpse sells cheap." The air thickened with danger. The human shifted, placing himself between the girl and the crowd. His coat flared as he moved, his hand resting near his belt where no weapon gleamed. Yet his stance spoke louder than steel. He would fight if they dared. The girl's voice broke through, soft but clear. "Please," she whispered. "Don't hurt him. Please don't take me back." Her words, fragile as glass, carried into the silence. For a moment, even the most hardened traders hesitated. The human lifted his head, his voice rising. "You see her as weight, as flesh, as profit, but she is none of those. She is free, and anyone who tries to take that from her will answer to me." A hush spread across the crowd. They had expected fear. They had expected begging. Instead, they saw a man who stood as if the whole market could not move him. The trader snarled, waving his hand. "Let him go. He won't make it far. The streets will deal with him. The hunters will follow. His kindness will bury him." The crowd parted reluctantly, muttering threats. The human guided the girl down the steps of the stage. Every eye followed them, some with hatred, some with doubt, and some with something new, uncertainty. The girl's steps were unsteady, but each one carried her further from the chains. She clutched the coat tighter, breathing in the strange comfort it carried. "Why?" she whispered to him, her voice trembling. "Why did you do this? You don't even know me." He glanced at her, his eyes soft but strong. "Because no one should be weighed like cargo, because no one should be sold like an animal, and because you deserve to live." Her chest tightened, her throat burned with words she had never spoken. Gratitude, fear, hope, all tangled together. She pressed her face into the fabric of his coat, hiding the tears that came unbidden. Behind them, the market roared again. The trader shouted orders to his men. Already hunters whispered plans. Already knives gleamed in the dark. The human knew they would not escape so easily, but he did not slow. Each step away from the stage was a promise. Each step was defiance. They slipped into the alleys beyond the lamps. The shadows closed around them. The noise of the market grew faint. The girl shivered, but not from cold. She felt the weight of freedom pressing against her chest, heavy and strange. The chains were gone, yet the marks remained. The pain was real, but so was the hope. And as she walked beside the human who had given everything for her soul, she whispered to herself, "I am not property. I am free." But freedom was never simple, and in the silence of the night, footsteps echoed behind them. The chase had already begun. The narrow alleys twisted like veins through the underbelly of the city. The lamps of the market faded behind them. But the noise lingered. Shouts and curses carried through the night air. The human kept his pace steady, guiding the girl with one hand, his coat wrapped tight around her trembling form. Her bare feet scraped against the rough stone, every step painful. Her breath came fast, her chest still raw from fear, yet she did not stop, not while he pulled her forward. His grip was firm but gentle. She felt strength in his hand, not chains, but protection. Behind them, footsteps echoed, fast and sharp. Shadows moved at the mouth of the alley. Hunters sent by the trader, desperate to reclaim what they called profit, they carried blades and nets, their eyes glinting with greed. The human stopped at a corner, his back against the wall. He listened, counting the steps. The girl clung to his coat, her voice low. "They are coming. They will take me back. Please don't let them." His eyes met hers, steady as stone. "I won't," he said. His voice was calm, but the fire in it burned. The hunters turned into the alley, their boots splashing through puddles. One raised a net, another swung a blade. Their laughter echoed. "Give her back. Human, she is worth more than your life. Walk away and live, or fight and die with her." The human stepped forward, shielding the girl with his body. He carried no sword, no gun, but in his stance there was something more dangerous, resolve. "You will not touch her," he said. The first hunter lunged, blade flashing under the pale light. The human moved fast, his hand catching the attacker's wrist. He twisted. The blade clattered to the ground. A sharp crack echoed as the hunter fell, groaning. The others hesitated, shocked by his speed. The girl gasped. She had seen men fight for greed, for cruelty, but never for her. Her heart pounded as she watched him, a single figure standing against many. The second hunter snarled and swung his net. The human ducked, pulling the girl behind him. The net tangled against the wall. He shoved the hunter hard, sending him sprawling into the dirt. The alley rang with chaos. The hunters regrouped, circling. The girl's hands shook. She pressed herself against the wall, her voice breaking. "You will be killed. Please, leave me. I will only drag you down." He turned to her, his eyes fierce. "No, I will never leave you. You are free, and I will fight for that freedom, even if it costs me everything." Her breath caught. Her tears burned. In that moment she believed him. His words were not empty. They were carved in stone. The hunters rushed again, 3 at once. Blades glinted, fists swung. The human fought with nothing but will and strength. His fist struck hard. His body moved with purpose. He was not trained like a soldier, but every blow was fueled by something stronger, conviction. The girl watched, heart torn between terror and awe. She saw his coat whip through the air, saw his hands move faster than fear. He was outnumbered, but he did not falter. One hunter slashed across his arm. Blood streaked the fabric. The girl cried out, but he only gritted his teeth, driving forward. His strike sent the attacker crashing into the wall. The alley fell quiet for a moment. Hunters groaned on the ground. The human stood over them, chest rising and falling, blood dripping from his arm. His eyes burned in the shadows. He turned back to her, reaching for her hand. "We have to keep moving." Her fingers slipped into his, her grip weak but desperate. She nodded. "Yes, please don't let go." They ran again, deeper into the maze of the city. The girl's breath came ragged, but her spirit felt lighter. The chains were gone, and though danger chased them, hope began to take root. The hunters would not stop, the trader would not forget, the market would not forgive, but she no longer walked alone, and as long as the human fought for her soul, she believed she might truly live free. The shadows swallowed them, and the night carried them forward, but behind, new footsteps stirred, louder, heavier. The hunt was not over, it was only beginning. The night air grew colder as they left the shouts behind. The narrow alleys opened into a quiet district where broken lanterns swung on rusted chains. The human slowed his pace, his arm bleeding through the sleeve of his coat. The girl held on to him tighter, her violet eyes wide with worry. They stopped near an abandoned storehouse, its door hanging crooked. Inside, the air smelled of dust and old wood. It was dark, but it was shelter. He guided her inside and leaned against the wall, his breath steady though his wound bled. The girl reached for him, her hands trembling. "You are hurt. They cut you. It's because of me. You should not have risked this." He shook his head, his voice calm but firm. "I chose this. Do not blame yourself. They cut my arm, not my will. That cannot be broken. She stared at him, her chest tightening. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever stood for her without demand or price. She pressed her hands against the wound, trying to stop the blood. Her touch was gentle, though her voice shook. I don't understand. Why me? Why give everything for me? His eyes met hers, steady and warm even in the dark. Because no soul should be sold. Because you are more than what they called you. You are more than weight on a scale. You are life. Her lips parted, but no words came. Tears welled in her eyes. She bowed her head, unable to face the strength of his gaze. The chains were gone, yet she still felt their echo pressing into her skin. Still, his words fought against that weight. He pulled his coat tighter around her shoulders, ignoring his own pain. You are free now, he whispered. No one owns you. No one will weigh you again. Her hands clutched the fabric. She trembled as if the words themselves were too heavy. Free, she repeated softly. The word felt strange, fragile, but beautiful. She had dreamed of freedom once, long ago, before the market, before the chains, but those dreams had faded, buried under cruelty. Now, with him, the dream had taken form again. The weight of freedom pressed on her chest, heavier than chains, because she did not yet know how to carry it. The human watched her quietly. He saw the fear in her eyes, the uncertainty. He did not push her. He only stayed near, a silent shield in the shadows. His presence said what words could not, that she was safe, that she was not alone. Her voice cracked. I don't even know who I am without the chains. I don't remember my name. They took everything. I am nothing. He reached out, lifting her chin so her eyes met his. You are not nothing. You are someone who survived. That makes you stronger than you know. The chains did not take you. You are still here, and that is enough. Her breath hitched. The tears she had held back broke free. She cried into his coat, her body shaking. The sound was raw, years of silence breaking in one flood. He held her, steady, letting her grief fall. The night outside grew quiet. The hunters searched, but for a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them. The weight of freedom pressing, the warmth of compassion breaking through. When her sobs eased, she lifted her head. Her face was streaked with tears, but her eyes glowed brighter than before. You gave everything for me. I cannot repay you. He shook his head. I did not give to be repaid. I gave because it was right. I gave because you are worth more than gold, more than coins, more than weight. Her heart tightened. A fragile smile touched her lips. Then let me live. If nothing else, let me live as proof that you were right. He nodded. That is all I ask. For the first time, she felt her chest lighten. The word free no longer seemed impossible. It seemed real. But freedom was fragile. The human's wounds still bled, and the hunters would not stop. Outside, footsteps stirred faint in the distance. The danger had not passed. The fight was not over. Yet in the shadows of the storehouse, in the quiet between heartbeats, she felt something grow, not fear, not despair, but strength. And with that strength, she whispered to herself, I will not go back, not ever. The storehouse walls groaned with the weight of the night. Dust drifted through the air as the wind rattled broken shutters. The girl sat close to the human, his coat wrapped around her like a shield. His wounds still bled, but his eyes stayed sharp, watching the shadows. Outside, footsteps scraped the stones. Voices whispered in the dark. The hunters had not given up. The trader's greed was endless. They would hunt until dawn. They would not let her freedom stand. The girl's breath trembled. She leaned closer to the human, her violet eyes filled with fear. They are coming. They will not stop. You cannot fight them all. You will be killed because of me. He looked at her, calm even in the storm. I have already chosen. If I fall, it will not be because of you. It will be because I refuse to stand aside. That is a choice I will never regret. Her heart burned. The words cut through her fear. He did not see her as a burden. He saw her as a soul worth protecting. No one had ever given her that. No one had ever spoken with such unshakable truth. The footsteps drew nearer. The hunters gathered outside, blades glinting under pale light. The door shook as they slammed against it. Splinters flew. The girl cried out, clutching his arm, but the human rose, his shadow tall against the wall. He turned to her, his voice steady. Listen to me. No matter what happens, you are free. Hold on to that. Never let them take it away. Do you understand? Tears filled her eyes. She nodded. Yes, she whispered. I will never go back. I will never let them weigh me again. The door burst open. Hunters stormed in. The human stepped forward, his fists clenched, his body was weary, his arm wounded, but his spirit blazed. He struck like fire, driving the first hunter to the ground. The girl watched, her chest tightening with every blow. He fought not for power, not for glory, but for her. The hunters swarmed. Chaos filled the storehouse. Blades clashed, fists cracked, dust and blood mingled in the air. The human staggered but refused to fall. His will was iron. The girl's fear twisted into something new. Courage. She grabbed a fallen board from the floor. Her hands shook, but she swung with all her strength, striking one hunter across the head. He stumbled. She swung again. Her voice broke free. I am not property. I am not weight. I am free. The words echoed louder than any strike. The hunters faltered. The human's eyes caught hers, pride flashing through his pain. Together they pushed back. She struck. He shielded. For the first time, she fought not to survive, but to live. One final blow dropped the last hunter. The storehouse fell into silence. Only the sound of their breaths filled the air, heavy, ragged, alive. The girl dropped the board, her hands shaking. She stumbled to the human's side. His arm bled, his body bruised, but he still stood. She reached up, pressing her hands to his wound, tears streaking her face. You saved me. You gave everything. I cannot let you fall. He placed his hand gently over hers, his voice low but strong. You saved yourself. You found your strength. That is what matters. Her heart swelled. Her tears mixed with a fragile smile. For the first time, she believed the truth of his words. She was not a number, not a weight, not a thing. She was a soul, alive and free. Together they stepped out into the dawn. The first light touched the sky, soft and golden. It spilled across the city, washing away the darkness of the market. The girl lifted her face to the sun, breathing deep. The warmth felt strange, yet beautiful. The human walked beside her, his steps steady despite his wounds, his coat still around her shoulders. She looked at him, her voice soft but filled with strength. I will live, not as a slave, not as property, but as myself, and I will carry your gift forever. He nodded, his eyes gentle. That is all I wanted. That is why I fought. That is why I gave everything. The girl's violet eyes shone, her voice breaking with emotion. Then you did not just save my life. You saved my soul. The sun rose higher, the shadows fled, and with every step they took away from the market, the weight of chains faded, leaving only freedom. Her soul was no longer weighed by numbers. It was lifted by hope. And for the first time, she truly believed she was free.